Welcome everyone to Little Tokyo 2's new podcast series From Startup to Growup. We offer short, sharp 20-minute overviews and interviews of successful founders, as well as 40-minute extended founder interviews with successful people who have graduated from LT2. I'm your host, founder and CEO of LT2, Jock Fairweather. Great, so now we're going to start.
Is it recording?
It's recording.
Okay, just checking.
I'm a pro.
But look, it's red. Is it supposed to be red?
Yeah, the last one was red.
Oh gosh.
Come
okay. Just for
Look,
background.
It's squiggling.
Just for background context, we had a very hard time getting this started before.
That's
technology.
Bullshit.
We didn't Google, but there was multiple laptops involved.
That's straight up bullshit.
Oh, now there are more drinks.
So, perfect.
Thank you.
What are these called again?
Called jungle birds.
Jungle birds.
Jungle bird. We
Not
thought it
stormy
was
jungle.
Stormy jungle.
That's like halfway between a dark and stormy and a jungle bird by the sound of it.
Yeah, that sounds good, right? Did we just give you a new drink idea?
Possibly.
Yes. Starting things since forever.
Winning.
Cheers.
Since forever. Cheers.
I do like that one.
How good's the stormy
Ooh.
bird?
I'm liking it. I'm liking it. Okay.
So, now we're going to start our...
We have drinks. The technology is working. We're ready.
Technology's working. 40 minutes
Go.
of... Basically, I want to find out a little bit more, maybe a little less structured as
Was I too corporate before?
last. No, you're perfect. You really were perfect. But just a little bit more relaxed. I always have the dream of having a podcast like Joe Rogan. You know how that him and like Brendan Schwab just sit in a room and talk absolute shit
Yep.
for like 3 hours.
Whew.
I couldn't talk for 3 hours.
Yeah, it would be a long time.
But
Unless
I've
there were
always
lots
had
of
a dream
drinks.
of that.
Yeah. We'll make
They
it happen.
don't drink, it seems. I don't know what they do. It's real weird.
Just hanging out, broing out, loving
They're
it.
just literally broing out. Anyway, so I wanted to ask you a few more questions or dig a little bit deeper
Cool.
on some of the things you said. One of the things that I missed out on and we missed out on the 20 minutes was the Unconference you just
Yeah.
ran. You want to tell me a little bit about that? I didn't really get the idea of an Unconference.
I think it terrified you when I told you about it. You're like, I don't know if I would be down with that.
Yeah, I'm pretty picky with the people that I like to spend time with.
Which is fair enough.
I put in the effort in the first couple of years of us going. I like 10 to 12 meetings a day, 7 days a week for 2 years. And I kind of got to vet who I really wanted to spend time with after that period of time and who I thought had the right morals and ethics. Obviously, I can't meet everybody, but it's likely I've come across them. Anyway, I want to find out a bit more about an Unconference, how yours went, why you do it, who went, what do they get out of it,
Totally.
why would I bother?
Why would you bother? Okay. So just like a quick, what is an Unconference 101? Unconferences are the idea that instead of going to an event where all the cool people are up on stage speaking, you go to an event where everyone's cool and anyone could speak. And everyone's there because they've got something to share, but everyone's there because they want to learn as well. So it's like a really open and like peer learning environment. And the history of Unconferences is, it depends on how you define it, but like the idea of Unconferences specifically started around the .com burst because the O'Reilly crew in the States had all these big warehouses, and when the shit hit the fan, they couldn't fill them with anything else, so they decided to start doing these Unconferences, getting the smart technical minds into the room and learning from each other. The O'Reilly group are the crew that coined the term open source and have done some really amazing stuff.
True, I relate the Unconference to Jack Delosa, who
Unconvention.
I've not met him. Unconvention, but he really looks like a knob. And the videos that he puts online are like, if you got Gary Vee and Tony Robbins to have a baby.
Yeah, I don't know him and I can't comment on that, but this is quite different than that. It's not like, it's really the idea that everyone has something to share and learn, and it really values everyone at the event. And so the idea is on the first night, You actually create the agenda together. So it's a full weekend event, but on the first night, everyone can put up a session. And the session can be about anything. It could be the thing that you do day to day, but that's actually, no offense, probably a little bit boring. It should be about the thing that you're really passionate about and the thing that you like either know a lot about or really want to host a discussion on. And so at this unconference that we just had, we had sessions ranging from a reverse Shark Tank, where businesses got up and pitched their idea and everyone applauded and then told them everything they loved about it.
True.
Yeah, but not in a patronizing way. It was actually just like, these are the things that really resonated in what you just said. And these are the people that you should talk to. And so it was actually like a really additive experience. It wasn't
cool.
tearing them down. Yeah. So that was one of the sessions. We had a session called Queer as Fuck. And so it was a woman who identifies as queer, just explaining to people who had never learned anything about this, like everything from how to have a baby when you're in a homosexual relationship through to transgender, the definition and how it works, and like all these different things that like you normally would have to probably fucking Google for years to figure out.
Or go to anonymous groups.
Well, yeah, or like it's just this idea that you can learn from each other and everyone knows something that you don't know, and how do you create a space where you can have that discussion and really just connect as people. And so, yeah, like on one hand, we had sessions that were really just like people learning things that are a bit different, but we also had sessions like some accountants ran a cash flow session. And so the, early stage startups got to ask an accountant all these questions.
Probably everyone should just go to that session.
I didn't because I don't know. But a lot of people did, and a lot of people got a lot out of it.
I bet they did.
And the accountants loved it because they're like, ooh, yeah, teaching some stuff. But that's the idea of an unconference is like, it's just about the people in the room. Whatever happens, happens, and who's ever there is right to be there. And the idea is it's about the learning, but it's also about the connections. And that's what you need for a healthy ecosystem is people actually connecting and helping each other make this shit happen. And so we did this here in Queensland about a month ago. I've helped run 5 of them in New Zealand, and I've been to probably about 8 in New Zealand.
Wow.
And the one that I started going to in New Zealand called KiwiFu is probably the only reason I'm still in business. Because I met all these people at my first unconference that just helped me do what I do better. And like when the shit hit the fan one time with me and my lawyer, I managed to DM one of the lawyers I met at the unconference over a weekend, and she was in like Samoa, and she like came back to me on the Monday with like the solution.
Over Telegram, because then it's untraceable.
Basically. But no, like, and it's just actually building those networks and connections in a way that's real. So that's an unconference. I ranted a little bit. I love it.
And what kind of feedback do you get from the weekend, or maybe specifically the weekend you just ran in Brisbane?
So the feedback we got from this most recent weekend was everything from you helped me regain faith in humanity, through to this was a turning point for my life and my startup, through to, I came in skeptical, but I left amazed. Like, people don't really know what they're getting into, as you. Like, no one really understands this concept, but it actually can be life-changing.
And are there ever like fights or arguments?
Oh, yeah. When you get that sort of diversity of people,
Yeah.
like, they can get pretty intense.
I bet.
But, like,
do you have like rules or set expectation around that stuff?
yeah, so there's a really clear code of conduct, as there always should be at events. And it's just basically like, be kind to each other and know that you're coming from different perspectives. But if something is really bad, or if you need help, these are the different avenues you can go through to notify us, either anonymously or in person. And we also try to always have a counselor on site as well in case something really triggering happens.
Legit, you have a counselor.
Yeah, so this time we had someone who's a psychologist, but yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's pretty legit.
The rule is, though, now we're not allowed to say that before the sessions get set, because if you say that before the sessions get set, people get real weird.
True.
Yeah.
I would get weird.
Oh, yeah, no. Yeah, well, it can get intense, so we don't tell people until after the sessions are set.
I see. How have you found like the ecosystem here in Brisbane? I mean, how have you found Brisbane?
I found it really friendly. So I've moved a lot in my life. As you can tell from the accent, it doesn't sound like I come from New Zealand. I used to move every year. So I've lived a bunch of places. And I found Queensland the easiest place to get set up and started.
True.
So yeah, like I've made some great friends while I've been here. And it's really friendly. And I think that's partially down to the community. I think it's partially down to the program that I'm in.
Partially down to you.
Yeah, I just like making friends. But I've always liked making friends. So, like, it has been easier here than it has been in other places. I have found it a little bit hard in Australia, I'm not going to lie. There's a lot more rules than I'm used to, a lot more levels of regulation. It's been harder in some ways to start the company as opposed to starting my life. But yeah, it's been interesting. It's definitely going to be a chapter in the book.
So what's gone on so far around registering for the license here?
Yeah, so we applied for an equity crowdfunding license here in Australia. We were in the first batch of applications, and we're still just waiting. It's been an interesting process. ASIC isn't the most communicative government agency that I've
ASIC.
ever... Yeah, ASIC.
Yeah.
I may have renamed them. I'm not going to tell you to what.
Are you serious? No one's going to listen to this podcast.
Not on tape. I'll tell you later. But yeah, so it's been it's just been a slow process, which in some ways I may have come in it a little bit naive, thinking with our experience overseas, having done this for 4 years, like it would be not so hard to get a license. But at the same time, like I totally get it. Like they want to know that we know how Australia works and
you'll stay and so on.
Yeah, so the plan is to stay if we get the license. And I'm really excited about Australia. Like, I think that there are a lot of cool things going on, and we have some really interesting experience, but also really open to learning more. So, yeah.
Have you got any companies on your radar that you want to attract to Pledgeme? What are you calling it in Australia?
It's Pledgeme here, yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So in the end, we managed to get the URL.
Sure.
For a little while, we didn't think we could because some dude in India bought it when
How
we
much
found
did
out we
you
were
pay
coming.
him?
No, we didn't. That's the great thing. So we got some news coverage in New Zealand saying we're moving to Australia, and within like an hour, some dude in India had bought our URL. And I tried to buy the URL before we got the media coverage because I knew that would happen, but I couldn't because I didn't have an ABN. But no, we notified the authorities that do the registry service here, and they deregistered him, so we managed to get in. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, because they're like, well, he's obviously overseas, so.
Yeah. Friends of mine, when there was all this startup-y innovation stuff,
Yeah.
went a bit viral here in Australia, they tried to coin the term innovation boom. And
Innovation
friends of
boom.
mine were watching that and
Yeah.
literally registered a website called Innovation Boom where you had to, you could go to it and it could basically, you click buttons and it could take
Yeah.
you to where you want to be in the innovation sector and the ecosystem and so on.
Yeah.
Apparently sold it back to the government for 30 grand in like 2 days.
Wow.
Legends.
Question. Do you like the word innovation? Be honest.
No, I personally stay away from the words co-working, entrepreneur,
Because it's hard to spell.
yes, and innovation. I think specifically because everybody says them. Also, I think everybody has a different opinion about what they mean and what they are.
Do you think people just use big words to sound smart?
Yeah, I don't do that. I don't know many big words. I'm like a 4-syllable max guy.
I think it's good. It's like good communication. I did an English literature degree, so I know all the big words, but I don't think you should use them if you're communicating with people.
No, I agree. No, not really. I mean, I have friends that run companies that are specifically, I would suggest, innovative, i.e., on the verge of inventing new things constantly
Yeah.
and experimenting with things that are on the edge.
Doing things better.
Yeah, they're
Doing
doing
things different.
They are doing things better, but I think all of us are doing things better. I mean, every time
Not everyone's doing things better.
Okay, you're right. The
We
people
should
who
be.
operate well are
Improving
always
things.
improving what
Hopefully.
they're doing.
Yeah.
Should be.
Yeah.
Specifically with their customer in mind. But there are some people that are doing that like really on the edge. So whatever the newest facial recognition tech is, they're fucking with that to try and make it, really next level. So it could be used, in a Zara store or something like that. So I have friends that are doing that, and then I have people that are talking about innovation, I don't know, and it could be, I don't know, it's just so, it's incomparable for
Yeah.
me. What the 99.9% people call innovation or advancement or whatever it might be versus some people I know that are actually involved in that game,
Yeah.
and I just find it laughable.
If you say it, you're trying too hard.
Yeah.
It's sort of my thing. Like, and like, I think that it's, yeah, if you're doing it, you're just doing it. Like, you're making it happen. Like, you're like, you don't have time to even talk about it. It's just taking names and getting it out there. Like,
But-
yeah, that's my.
But in the end, if you're attempting to be innovative, like what for? I mean, there's some pretty fucking incredible companies out there that aren't particularly innovative, I'd suggest. There's public ones worth more than 20 billion that when I present things to them, they kind of just like laugh it off, or it doesn't move the needle enough for them because they're public and worth 20 billion. The things that I present are very cool, but if you were that big and still making that much margin, I had 500 and something million in your bank, would you care that much?
You would care if your Kodak and everything is fucking up around you. Like, you still need to be constantly improving, is my thinking, but you don't have to call it innovation. And like innovation, what was it? Doblin had 18 points of innovation. I'm saying it. Oh,
What's
God.
an 18 points?
Doblin was this researcher, and he showed that there's like 18 ways you can do things better. There's 18 parts of your business that you can improve on.
True.
Yeah. And I think it's 18 or maybe it's 14. But it's like, it's this idea that like, you know, it's not just creating this fancy new tech. It's actually like, you can make your customer service better. You can make your branding better.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
there's all these areas that you can actually do things quite differently that improves it for your customer and makes them want to use you more. Not always, yeah. So there's lots of ways you can do stuff better.
But it's just improvement with the customer in mind,
Yeah.
right? And whatever your outcome might be, whether it's profit or impact or whatever, it doesn't really
It can
matter,
be
does
both.
it?
Yeah.
I think, yeah, and it's a bit the same with entrepreneur. I read something the other day where it's like stated, their opinion was you're not an entrepreneur unless you've started a company and exited it profitably. for
Really? You
yourself,
have to
right?
exit too?
That was the statement in the book. And I mean, it made me reflect. I think that's probably somewhat realistic. But also, if you started
There's a bunch of companies that have never exited that are entrepreneurs.
yeah, I
Like
think
Patagonia, or, you know, like there's companies that are long-entrepreneurship, which we were talking about before.
yeah. Did we just make that up before?
No.
I think that's new. Oh, is that a
No,
thing?
it's a thing.
Okay, I thought did it originate in China?
Okay, so my friend wrote a blog about long-entrepreneurship, which was specifically about Japan and onsens.
Oh, true.
But, yeah, it's the long-term handing over from generation to generation.
Right. Anyway, the
Sorry,
point
side.
is, I think no one really knows what entrepreneurship is, and no one can give a proper definition. Probably
Yeah. Getting shit done?
Getting shit done, maybe, but you could be a minion in an accounting practice that's smashing
true.
spreadsheets. That's getting shit done.
True.
Depending on whatever your shit is that needs to get done. So I don't really know the answer to it either. I would probably put it somewhere in a box with like risk taking.
Yeah.
That would be the way that I would put it. Something to do with risk taking and being able to make things out of nothing.
Yeah, making something out of nothing, I think, is a big thing.
Yeah.
Like, how do you just
It's
make a
big-
thing
like
start?
maybe being
Make a thing happen.
super resourceful,
Wasn't that...
plus
isn't-
a bit more.
Yeah, I think isn't that the sort of definition is like being able to gather resources when you might not even have money to pay for them? Like, how do you like get things happening?
Yeah.
Anyways, side rant about innovation and entrepreneurship. What was your next question? No pressure.
I didn't have any other questions.
Really, that was it? Just unconference?
No, that wasn't it. I
Okay.
mean, I was interested as well in like a real horror story about an equity crowdfunding thing, because I feel like you diverted from that slightly.
Ha!
You tried to give me like this generalized explanation, which I reckon is bullshit.
Well, no, like, I mean, so we've had people launch campaigns that just didn't have crowds. And so I think that's the biggest thing, is check with your crowd and see if they want it. It's really hard for super early stage companies to raise money this way, because they have to have networks with money that love them. And like, then it's really like, who are your professional networks, who are your personal networks? So yeah, the ones that haven't worked, they've done things like not talk to their crowd, They've done things like set really high pre-money valuations that no one's ever going to take.
So people investing in equity crowdfunding are looking at valuations.
Well, I mean, they are. Like, it's like you're investing because you know the company, but you're also investing because you believe it's worth what they say it's worth. And if someone says they're $10 million pre-money having no revenue, you know, that's a really hard valuation to justify. That said, I would posit that valuations are a bit of a dark art. There's no one way to do it.
It's pretty dark.
It's pretty dark. And it's an art. There's no science to that. I mean, there's a little bit of science, but come on, it really depends on the market and the company and everything. But yeah, so not knowing who the crowd is and not talking to the crowd, valuation being too high. What else have we seen being a failure or not working out?
I've got a friend that can do like a legitimate valuation that will be accepted by a bank. It'll cost you $30,000 for him to do it.
And so that's the thing is, like, we don't want companies to have to spend $50,000 to make $200,000. Like, you know, and with valuations, it is a willing buyer, willing seller. Like, you need to figure out what people are willing to buy it for and what you're willing to sell it for. And that's the Venn diagram you're going for. And then it's the justification around it. Is it a revenue multiplier? Is it an EBITDA multiplier? Is it a market comparison? Is it the Berkus method, which is a really fucking early stage method that some people use? Like, there's a bunch of ways to try and do it, but that's the hard thing. If you're an early stage company, how the fuck do you know all of this? Like,
You don't.
yeah, and that's the thing. Like, you learn as you go, but also, yeah, it shouldn't be as complicated as it is. Like, how do you make it easier for companies to do the things that should be easy, but the hard things should still be hard? You know?
Have any collaborative workspaces or co-working spaces, as you will, tried equity crowdfunding?
Not that I've seen.
In my mind, it kind of makes sense.
Yeah, if people are in the space loving it, then
Yeah.
investing in it could be a thing.
I always thought you could similarly put some of what you pay, for example, as a membership away. So 10% of whatever everyone pays as a membership away that goes into some sort of fund. And if the fund performs, you just get repaid, and it could be like a surprise. I mean,
Surprise, you made money. You didn't know.
surprise, actually, you got more money back than you gave us.
I think the thing is that would be so complicated from a legal perspective. Not that I'm a lawyer, but I would imagine then it'd be seen as like a financial product, and then there's like all these disclosures that you have to do, and it's
True. What about that?
complicated.
Have you seen Slice of the Pie? Have you seen that
Yes, I've
website?
seen
I
the
think it was
book
like
and
a
the-
professor from Berkeley.
Yeah, one of my friends was really into that, and I totally get it. The hard thing with that shit is tax. If you're being issued shares as income or as seen as like paying for your time, there's tax on that. At least in New Zealand.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, it's complicated.
Oh, that's a good point. Because I think it's money in is worth a factor of, let's say, 4.
Yeah.
Sacrifice salary is worth a factor of 2, and
Yeah.
then time is worth a factor of 1. I think it's something like that.
Yeah. But if you're being given something, then it's seen as income. And then if it's income, there's a tax component on that, at least in New Zealand. And so that was always my issue with it, is if it's seen as income, then it's hard.
Wow, that makes sense.
It does, but it's also like accountants.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's hard,
accountants.
when you're not, it's not actually cash. So how do you pay tax on something that's not actually cash? And you don't know when you're ever going to realize that value.
Hashtag Bitcoin. What I always had a thought, and how does this affect what you guys do? Let's say someone asks me to invest in their company $50,000, and right this very moment I might not have $50,000 to give you. It doesn't matter what the equity is and so on, but I could manage my money and give you $1,000 a week for a year, approximately. Does that exist, or is there a way you could structure that so that happen? I think the problem most of the time, let's say specifically me as well, is we have some really cracking companies go through Little Tokyo. Like recently, 18 months, a company was literally going for worth 40 million. And I could have been on it at the beginning when I wanted to. However, all of my money is invested in, well, some other groups, but mainly what we're doing. How could you get around that? That could open up a huge market. I know specifically of friends of mine that could be real estate agents or tradies or something like that. They have a lot of cash rolling around.
So it's like regular investments into a company that you choose.
So say I was a company and I pitched you that I need $50,000 a month. That was my burn rate. That's what I needed to stay alive. And let's just call it, to make it simple, a year, I could break even.
Yeah.
I could get 50 people to give me $1,000 a month, of which I know 50 people that could.
Yeah.
But none of them could. None of the 50 could give me 50 today.
So are you investing because you know what the burn is, or are you investing because of the future growth strategy and where the company's going?
Well, I suppose both. I mean, I need, let's say I hypothetically need the 50 a month right now. And in a year, we'll be break even, right? We know that if you gave me that, or,
You hope.
who knows what the promises is.
Yeah. You
the
can't
end
promise
of the 12
anything in
months,
equity crowdfunding.
Can't
Don't promise anything.
At the end of the 12 months,
we're
we'll be
aiming
break
for
even.
it, yeah.
And then, whatever. We're going to shoot for the moon after that.
Yeah. I think there are some interesting models around sort of reoccurring pledges, like Patreon in the States, which is, either monthly or per product payments for artists.
So is it kind of like a subscription?
It's more subscription. You're not getting shares. You're just saying either monthly or per
Or
product.
but no shares.
No shares. So that's Patreon in the States. I think it'd be interesting here. I think the hard thing is with all of this, it's very highly regulated and lots of lawyers are involved. So like doing regular issues of shares would potentially be quite complicated. It's just easier to do one transaction rather than 50 transactions.
But you could, similarly, you could lock in on day one that this is the value
And
valuation. So maybe
companies do tranches. Like companies will potentially do like tranches based on milestones met or tranches based on timelines. So you don't get the investment all up front. Like you get the investment part of it, do the thing, and then you get more investment. That is the one time that I've been screwed over in my business when we did tranching of investment.
Tell me about that.
Yeah, it was. I'm pretty sure I'm under NDAs for that one. But yeah, I would never recommend letting a lawyer write the terms for the investment that they're investing in.
Oh,
Yeah, it was a bad move.
It's like double jeopardy or something.
I know. You learn as you go.
Yes, you do.
But don't do the tranching.
Don't do tranching.
Unless it's really, really clear.
When I've represented enterprises, however, when they've invested in startups.
Yeah. They go complicated?
Not so much. I think,
Okay.
well, they have quite a bit of power, but I've suggested, okay, if you're going to give startup X 3 million, we want them to apply for how much they want of the 3 million each time, show us the plan, and then before they get the next lot, show us what they did with the initial amount of money. Yeah. And that's come across pretty well. I mean, on an enterprise side, that absolutely makes sense. I mean, you don't give any old startup $3 million. That's 6 Ferraris, and it's going to teach.
If the entrepreneur is going to buy a Ferrari with their money, they're doing it wrong.
Or maybe doing it right. We don't know. I haven't done it yet. But on the entrepreneur side, it does teach them to be like really pragmatic with their money. Like watch how they spend it. Because I see a lot of guys that raise money just blast it on crap.
My learning is, like, if you raise money, you often think that hiring more people will directly affect your revenue and impact. Have you ever had that? Like, you think, if I hire more people, like if I hire 2 more people, it will increase my revenue by this much.
I suppose it depends on what you're hiring them for, right?
It does. But, yeah, it was an interesting learning for me, at least, when you raise money. Like, just having a bigger team doesn't mean bigger impact. And, yeah. But Ferraris will never increase your impact.
Whenever I think about hiring staff or increasing the amount of staff, I think, and I'm not a numbers guy, we all know that, but I refer back to always some Facebook thing that I saw 2 years ago approximately, because I don't have Facebook anymore.
No Facebook.
I hate Facebook.
Really?
I hate all social, to be frank.
Okay, we'll park that. We'll come back to it.
I'm pretty good on LinkedIn, actually. I got about 10,000 followers or something. It's pretty good, I think.
What?
It's pretty
I
serious.
only got 2,000.
Yeah, I'm
I
pretty,
don't do LinkedIn. I do
pretty
Twitter.
legit at LinkedIn.
Twitter's
Anyway, actually, I found a hack. I'll tell you offline, the LinkedIn hack.
Why tell us offline? Tell me online. Tell these people.
Okay, I'll
Anyways.
tell these people. Anyway, there was some sort of Facebook comparison, and I think it was WhatsApp and Telstra.
Yeah.
Something along the lines of Telstra's revenue's 10 billion a year, and they've got 1,000 employees, which means each of their employees is worth $100,000 to Telstra.
Yep.
Obviously, as an average.
Yeah.
WhatsApp, when it exited, was it 3.4 billion? It was quite a lot, and had 52 staff, which was something like each of its staff was worth 34.9 million. It was something like that each.
Yeah.
Right? And every time I ever think about hiring staff or having more staff or people trying to compare staff because they think they're cool,
Yeah.
that's all I ever think about. And I just go, right, let me just 100% check that all of our staff are twirling as many plates as they can and twirling them as best as they possibly can.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think size of team equates to size of impact. And I think that often people get into that pissing game of being like, I've got 20 staff. And you're
Totally.
like, I've got 8. And my 8 staff are great. Like, we are making shit
And they
happen.
crush.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. But I think my mentality when I raised my first money was thinking, if I hire more people, it will increase our revenue and increase our impact. It doesn't always happen
But
that
for
way.
example, were they marketing or sales staff?
Yeah.
Oh, they were?
Yeah, but like it didn't directly like I just like 2 more people that will increase it by this much, and it didn't.
Oh, no,
you
no,
know,
no.
it doesn't always.
It's not linear.
It's not linear.
No,
Yeah,
no.
That's a good. What's your Facebook? No, LinkedIn hack. that
Oh,
you
the
said?
LinkedIn hack?
Yeah.
I don't know if I should tell everyone.
Okay.
Okay, anyway, I'll tell everyone.
Be transparent.
If you go on, I'm the most transparent dude out. There's, on the app,
Yeah.
if you open it, there's obviously like the contacts button down the bottom left, second one in.
Yeah,
It's got
yeah.
like the little 3 people or something, or 1 person.
Yeah.
There's 2 hacks. When people invite you to connect,
Yeah.
if you press 2 of the ticks, just 2,
Yeah.
there'll be a grey bar that pops up that says connect with another 5, which are 5 people they know that you should know. So let's say that 10 people want to connect with you. You don't go through all of them at a time.
Yeah.
You do 2 at a time and
Yeah.
wait like 2 seconds.
Yeah.
Grey bar will pop up, connect with another 5 that you should be connected with.
Ah.
And it automatically connects you without you actually requesting.
Ah, so it sends out an invite for you to people
Correct.
you don't know. Okay.
So that's a hack.
Yeah.
The second hack, I mean, that's probably the more legit hack.
Yeah.
Obviously, you have to have people invite you before
Yeah.
that starts working.
Yeah.
So for every 2, you get another 5, 7.
Yeah.
There's another hack where after you do that, you basically close the grey bar,
Yeah.
and then you'll see probably on your phone screen, or the phone that I've got, I think it's iPhone 6 maybe,
Yeah.
you've got 4 people in squares there,
Yeah.
and they all have a connect button.
Yeah.
You can literally put your finger on top of the top left connect button
Yeah.
and just tap it like that, like as if you're tapping a mouse continuously.
Yeah.
And the people, as you click them, just continue to come through.
Wow.
And it'll just go and go and go. I think
Wow.
sometimes there must be some sort of algorithm on LinkedIn that stops you. But I
Yeah.
mean, I the first time I sort of found out and tested it,
Yeah.
I reckon I was tapping for 30 minutes and it
Wow.
didn't stop.
So my thing is, and I just don't connect with people I don't know. And like I get requests all the time, and I'm really bad because I meet so many people and I forget.
But
you
don't,
think it's
don't you think in the end,
if they
like,
want to connect, just connect with them.
if someone, well, in this method, I'm requesting them, rather,
Yeah.
and I don't know who the fuck they are. I'm not even looking at the name. I've got no idea.
Yeah,
In fact,
yeah.
I'm reading usually when I'm doing it.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't do it often. I might have gained 250 people from it.
Yeah.
However, just like what I used to do with my Facebook, I add everybody that just requested me.
Yeah.
I think the point is, both of those things really are for exposure of things.
Yeah.
And if you and I were really friends, we'd be texting or calling or seeing each other, right?
Yeah.
And no one,
Yeah.
no one really gives a shit about your personal stuff. And you don't put your personal shit on LinkedIn. Don't lie to me.
I totally don't put my personal shit on LinkedIn.
So why wouldn't you do it?
So I get spammed. I get people who start sending me personal newsletters because they now have my email address.
You can mute
no,
people.
they get your email address. I had
Yeah,
this
you
recently.
can export email addresses.
Yeah,
That's
fuck.
true.
I had this happen recently. This guy requested me on LinkedIn.
But you got 2,000, I got 10,000.
Yeah.
I don't really get that many.
So, okay, I had this guy request me on LinkedIn, and I'd heard of him. Like, I heard of him. I knew he was sort of well known in the scene in New Zealand, and I was like, okay, cool. I sent him a note. I was like, hey, lovely to connect. Let's grab a coffee sometime. Like, I'd love to meet. Connected with him. And he never responded. And then 2 months later, I get his personal newsletter updating me on his life. And I was like, dude, like, I didn't even want to connect with you in the first place. You didn't respond to my coffee request. And now I'm getting, like, your life news update? What?
Does he have an interesting life?
I mean, yeah, but no. I like completely, like, immediately, like, spammed out, unconnected, and, like, ranted about it on LinkedIn.
Oh.
Yeah, I did. I didn't say who it was, but it was just, like, that moment when.
True.
Yeah, I was not impressed.
Do you ever think about giving up
Giving up what?
your business?
I mean, honestly, doesn't everyone? Like, it's not, you're never fully, this must be it forever, because you're constantly questioning everything. But, yeah, I don't know, like, people always ask, like, what's going to happen when you sell, or what's going to happen when, like, you're done, and I'm like, I can't even actually imagine a day when I'm not doing something like this, because I do really enjoy it.
Is that the goal, to sell? Why did you start?
So our mission statement is to help Kiwis fund the things they care about, or help people fund the things they care about. And, like, I really just do love doing this. But yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting question. Giving up. I don't think we should, but it's always an option.
Why wouldn't you?
I mean, we are having a great impact, and we are doing some good work, and we're making money. Like, we will hopefully double, if not triple, revenue this financial year. You know, like, it's not, we're not early stage anymore, but it is always hard, and that's, like, the thing that you have to balance up with, like, do I want to have a life where I'm not stressed all the time? One day. Probably not right now.
You don't seem that stressed.
You actually asked me if I was all right when you saw me today. Are you all right, Anna? Oh, yeah. Yeah. I have a friend who just recently left his startup and started working in a corporate.
I have one too.
Yeah, and, like, he just seems so happy. How are we doing on time? He just seems so happy, like, you know, and relaxed. And you see it and you're like, oh, that looks like an easy life. But at the same time, yeah, if not now, yeah, like, why wouldn't you be doing it?
I think it all kind of goes in ebbs and flows. You know, or whether it's, yeah, like you said, multiple times daily, or whether it's weekly or whatever, whether you're fully into it, or you're driven, or you're threatened, or you're compassionate, or however it rolls.
Yeah.
For me, you just always have to think about, yeah, like, let's call it the North Star of the mission, and go, you know, would I really be having the impact and have all of the interesting stories and learnings in the end if I were working for whatever, KPMG, which is where my friend went?
Yeah. I do threaten one day I might go back to the government. Definitely not right now. But, yeah, like, I could see that happening. I was at a conference last week, Webstock in New Zealand, and they had Haley from the United States Digital Services team. Have you heard about them?
No.
Oh, fuck, it's amazing. So basically, am I allowed to swear? I just swore. Too late. You could bleep it. What they do is basically they bring in the smartest technical and policy minds and parachute them into government to solve government problems. But they do it in partnership with government. So like they have people within government that they're working with, so they don't move too fast for government, because like if you move too fast, you'll hurt people. But they also literally like people could die if you move too fast with government.
And that's it for another week with our podcast series From Startups to Growups. If you enjoyed that, you can find out more about Little Tokyo 2 on www.littletokyo2.com, and you can find more of our podcasts on soundcloud.com/Little Tokyo 2. Thank you, and speak to you next week.